playing Abzan aggro again. We'll see if Hunter can put something together here and beat Ross, who's playing Jeskai tokens. This will begin round number 15 here from DC. Sansep Citadel on one side, Temple of Triumph on the other.
And some of the one-ofs in Tom's deck here are going to be pretty solid in this matchup. I feel like the one copy of End Hostilities that shows up, that's great. And the one copy of Elspeth's Son's Champion can be very good as well.
A Thoughtseize here from Nance will show you a Wild Slash, along with a Raise the Alarm, a Jeskai Ascendancy. Actually make 2 copies of that fantastic card, a Hordeling Outburst, another copy of Wild Slash, and a Plains there for the boss.
Well, this is a pretty low-power hand with a lot of redundancy.
It sure is.
So I guess Hordeling Outburst stands out, but every time someone doesn't take an Ascendancy, even if there's a second one, it in retrospect feels ridiculous. So I guess I would just take Jeskai Ascendancy. Even if you can't answer. The second one in a game that's pacing up to be pretty slow, which it likely is in the face of multiple copies of Wild Slash. But I can also see taking the one real proactive play that Tom can definitely cast, which is Raise the Alarm.
And that's the card that Hunter does select. Raise the Alarm in the graveyard. Ross's draw for the turn was a copy of Flooded Strand. See what Nance can put together here. You see he does have a copy of Siege Rhino along with a copy of Wingmate Rock. He's off to a very slow start, however, as Ross will draw a card. It's a Mystic Monastery. Now Tom has to decide if he wants to deploy that or the Flooded Strand. If he plays Flooded Strand this turn, you can sacrifice it, get an island, and play Jeskai Ascendancy, or he can play the Mystic Monastery and set up for Hordeling Outburst the next turn.
I think that, you know, if it was, let's say that's a Scalding Tarn instead of a Flooded Strand, I think that's a really close decision. But the curve here is so natural for Tom just to play the Jeskai Ascendancy. There's nothing going on the board, so this is a pretty good time to take a turn off, in essence. And it just sets Tom up so much better down the line.
There is the Ascendancy. Nance will play an Urborg, and this will be a Siege Rhino. So Hunter's going to go up to 21. Ross will go down to 16. And we'll go back the boss's way. So again, he may have to take this turn off with that Mystic Monastery. We'll see. As he is tapping 3 mana. And there's a second copy of Jeskai Ascendancy, which will let him draw and discard. Temple of Triumph, one of the cards he's looking at. Now it's decision-making time. This part's always pretty tough with this deck.
With the Ascendancy deck, you typically want to take only 1 turn off deploying Ascendancy. Tom didn't have anything else to do, so he's kind of committed to taking the second turn off. Fortunately for him, Hunter not up to very much, but we know that Hunter's follow-up is going to be pretty powerful. He's got some Wingmate Rots ready to go, so this will be an interesting race.
Tom will discard Mystic Monastery, play the Temple of Triumph. That'll give him a second source of red mana for that Hordeling Outburst he's holding.
Neither player has done much through the first 4 turns of the game. I think starting turn 5 and beyond for both players is going to be nothing but hits.
Nance will draw, copy of Temple of Silence. Into the red zone comes the Rhino. Ross going to go down to 12. Unfortunately here for Hunter, not an untapped land. So all he can do is scry and pass the turn back over to Ross.
Yeah, just sitting on a hand of removal. No 5th land that came into play on tap for his Wingmate Rock. And Tom has not done anything yet to use a removal spell on.
Hordeling Outburst here for the boss. Couple of triggers from Jeskai Ascendancy. Soulfire Grandmaster among those cards. Now we know that Jeskai Ascendancy deck, it can kill all in 1 turn. It can be very, very explosive. We saw Tom do it yesterday off the back of Jeskai Ascendancy and Monks from Monastery Mentor. So it's certainly possible for him to put together 1 big turn after this Hordeling Outburst resolves and kill Hunter as soon as next turn.
Right, even if Hunter does something like play Wingmate Rock, I mean, it's not impossible.
So the boss, after drawing, discarding a couple of cards there. Discard a Soulfire Grandmaster, discard a Wild Slash, and now Hunter's doing a lot of massing. Okay, what the heck's going to happen to me here? I guess I'm going to Hero's Downfall one of these goblins. Not the most attractive play, but probably necessary.
Well, Hunter's not going to use that Hero's Downfall or anything else. His mana's going to be committed over the next couple turns, doing some proactive stuff. So it doesn't look pretty, but it's better than dying with a Hero's Downfall in your hand.
That's for sure. Abzan Charm the draw. Rhino coming on in. That'll work just fine. And now the follow-up is a Wingmate Rock with Raid. But now for Hunter Nance, the shields are down against an opponent who has 2 Jeskai Ascendancies in play. And 2 creatures. How bad does it get?
Treasure Cruise in hand as well.
Yep. The boss will untap. Time to draw. Mountain the draw. Land's not terrible in this situation. Could probably use a little bit more mana to facilitate, what he's trying to accomplish.
Well, the big thing here is I think Dom would like to get a free way to get a 7th card in the graveyard here because he doesn't want to commit 2 mana to this Treasure Cruise if he can avoid it. He's so close to fulfilling the full delve requirement that I think he's loath to do it if he doesn't have to.
Can't forget that Tom also has a copy of Monastery Mentor in hand. He can start his turn off maybe by casting that, but it's going to be a good turn.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that much. The question is how good. So the Mentor's in play, and perhaps some monks will be joining it in a moment.
And these are the moments where the token deck gets to look like a modern deck playing in a room full of standard decks.
It really does. Wild Slash. It's going to go upstairs. Trigger.
Not a good sign for Hunter.
No. I will shock you.
What are you at, 21? Okay,
Yeah.
shock you.
I'm going to discard a couple cards. There's a monk. Now here's a Treasure Cruise. So he'll delve 7. Just guys send us triggers. There's another monk. So he wants to stack all these things. So he'll draw a discard. And hostilities will go away. There goes Ascendancy. He doesn't need one of those. So now it's time to draw 3. Treasure Cruise done resolving. Tom's already plays land for the turn in Mountain. We know that. How much more can he do here?
Well, he has Stoke the Flames in hand, and I think his preference would be to Stoke on Hunter's turn, so he can make a sea of blockers capable of getting in front of the Siege Rhino, then untap, and likely win the game the following turn.
There's Stoke. A couple of triggers. Got another Stoke over there, too.
That explains why he would do this now, because he gets to make an attack this turn.
Yep. Bye-bye Monastery Mentor. Temple of Epiphany, any interest there? Nope. Time to untap. Now Stoke resolves. Don't forget, all these monks summoning sick right now. Started the turn off by playing Monastery Mentor, then Wild Slash, then Treasure Cruise, now Stoke. But every spell that he plays gives his creatures +2/+2. Now here's another Stoke. So draw and discard. And draw and discard. Dig through time a card he's found now.
Sure.
Those creatures will untap. Stoke the Flames is done resolving. Now here's an attack for a lot of damage. And now Tom says, you know what? That's it for me.
I'm good.
Got him to 1. Got him to 1. Couldn't get him to none. Got him to 1. Just kind of an average turn.
This deck is just a hoot sometimes.
Here comes the Rhino. See how Tom wants to block, if at all, here. In a situation like this, you just have to figure out how you lose the game.
The easiest thing I can think of is 2 copies of Abzan Charm if he says no blocks. I'm sure there's a variety of random combinations of cards that could kill Tom from here, depending on how he blocks, but the Abzan Charms are the most obvious.
No He'll block with 2 Monk tokens. And Hunter will concede the game. Tom Ross is going to win game number 1 here over Hunter Nance. Jeskai tokens up a game here over Abzan Aggro, and what was one heck of a turn there from the boss.
Yeah, explosive. And I mean, that's the issue if you're not pressuring the tokens deck or removing Ascendancy from the table. Even if you do some good stuff like Siege Rhino and Waymate Rock, the deck is just so powerful and checked.
To the sideboards we're going to go. We'll take a look at Hunter Nance to begin things, and his 2 copies, make it 3, of Glare of Heresy to go along with 4 copies of Drowning Sorrow. You have to imagine those cards will play a role, along with Liliana Vest and Elspeth Sun's Champion, Anissa World Waker, a Thoughtseize, a Back to Nature, a Bile-Blight, a Sorin, and a Murderous Cut.
The obvious stuff is the 7 removal spells, the 4 copies of Drowning Sorrow, the 3 copies of Glare of Heresy. Once you get past that, I think Bile-Blight's fine for the matchup, but I'm not a huge fan of the Planeswalkers here. I think Thoughtseize is okay at best.
Other side of things, the boss, well, I know he's got a lot of one-ofs.
A Citadel Siege, a Mastery of the Unseen, a Dictator Time, a Disdainful Stroke, 3 copies of Negate, a Anger of the Gods, and Erase, and Elspeth Sun's Champion, a Burn Away, Scouring Sands, a Glare of Heresy, 2 copies of End Hostilities. I like the Glare of Heresy, I like the 2 copies of End Hostilities, I like the Elspeth, and I like the Disdainful Stroke, additional Dictator Time as well.
Fair enough, some nice options here for both players, so we'll see what they come to. Kind of a weird game there too, where both players didn't really get anything out of the gates going.
Took a long time for someone to get something going, but in that sort of game, it dramatically favors the player with Jeskai Ascendancy.
Well, these players will get ready for game number 2. We'll discuss our IQ circuit. Actually, 2 IQs taking place right now, the premier variety, but many different types of invitational qualifiers out there, some attached to pre-PTQs, some at Open Series events, some just at your local store.
Yeah, every Sunday at the Open Series, we run an IQ for each format that wasn't the main event, but they are held all over the country at your local store, attached to PPTQs, all sorts of OP events, and they come with exclusive playmats, dice bags, pins, SCG premium vouchers, and of course, the opportunity to qualify for the Invitational.
First Invitational this year. Back end of March, we'll be in Richmond, so you get an opportunity to qualify for that tournament at a local IQ. And if you want to get IQs at your local store, all you have to do is talk to your store owner, and they can get in touch with us here at Star City Games, and we can get them out there for you. A lot of stuff to be won there, including premium vouchers, all that good stuff. So StarCityGames.com for more information about that. Tom Ross, certainly a player who played in IQs to make sure he qualified for the Players' Championship, though those invitational wins probably helped.
Absolutely. I mean, he locked it up early and then actually kind of locked it up a second time with his second invitational win. But even for the players who have that kind of resume, it is a path to the Players' Championship as well.
Well, for Hunter Nance, it's been a tough road here in the back end of the tournament. Now, of course, the tournaments, the deeper you get, the harder they become. But last round, had to play against a great player in Andrew Boswell, and now playing against one of the best players in Open Series history in Tom Ross.
And it's just, it's a super stressful moment when you're X-2, you have 2 rounds to go, and you're 11-2 thus far, so you feel pretty confident about being able to get at least one of them. But they have a habit of ratcheting up in difficulty level, and Hunter's opponents have not been easy to get past. His draws have not cooperated, I would say, over the course of the 2 matches thus far. And now, down a game, his opportunity to make the top 8 on the ropes.
Well, the time is now for the deck to cooperate. And it does have a pretty decent matchup against Jeskai tokens. I think that's why a lot of people move this direction towards Abzan Aggros, because you can really pressure the deck and keep them off balance before they get to do exactly what we saw Tom do that last game.
I think Bile-Blight plus Siege Rhino is a really good recipe against them.
Yeah.
If you can blow up enchantments, all the better. That's a good mixture. Once you get past that, it's sort of about the specifics of the list. Some are better suited than others, but those to me are the key cards.
See, Hunter is going to take a mulligan here. Tom looks like he's happy enough with his 7, though. He'll give it a look over. For Hunter, that winning combination, as you mentioned, Bile-Blight, maybe a Thoughtseize in there, Siege Rhino, Fleecemane Lion. Get aggressive. Get that party started a little bit.
It's really tough post-board because Tom has the ability to convert into sweepers. So Hunter just having a curve of creatures is not necessarily a winning formula. It will be sometimes, but not as often as it is game 1.
6 cards here for Nance. He's going to keep it. Temple of Malady. We'll put the top card to the bottom. We'll head back the boss's way. Tom with a Temple of Triumph. Take a look at the top card. It's going to become the bottom for him as well. We'll go back to Hunter. Hunter draws a copy of Temple of Plenty. So if he was missing white mana, he has it now. Here's an Urborg, and there's a Rakshasa Death Dealer. Ross will draw. Copy of Treasure Cruise.
And if Hunter's able to untap with this Death Dealer, it's a great start for him. Because it becomes very difficult for Ross to kill it down the line. Almost all of his removal is damage-based or it's in hostilities, which doesn't really work.
Temple of Epiphany there allowed Tom to keep his top card on top, so we'll head back to Nance, who does get done tapped with his Death Dealer. Serve across for 2 points of damage, he will. Ross will go down to 18. Now here's a Temple of Plenty. Take a look at the top card. That one's going to go to the bottom there for Nance, and he'll send it back over to Ross. Ross will draw. See, he has at least a Shivan Reef in his hand. Here's a Flooded Strand. Able to tap that Flooded Strand for black mana thanks to the Urborg that's in play, which means he doesn't have to crack that fetch just yet. Hordeling Outburst will give him 3 Goblin tokens, but Bile-Blight will sweep those away very quickly.
Really good start here for Hunter. I mean, this is kind of the mixture. He's, I think, picked up a Fleecemane Lion. He can attack, play the Fleecemane Lion, hold up mana, or just do this.
Yeah, you got to like this start. Death Dealer on 2, Bile-Blight on 3 to stop Hordeling Outburst, Rhino on 4. Rhino's such a hard card for Jeskai decks to beat, be it tokens, be it aggro, whatever kind of Jeskai deck it is.
Especially in contrast to last game where Hunter's curve really started on the 4th turn of the game and did not get a lot better.
Yeah. Tom does have another copy of Hordeling Outburst, however, so there are 3 more Goblin tokens. We'll see if Nance can keep the ball rolling here. He's ready to go to the attack step. Here are the attackers. Rhino having trample, very important here.
Rakshasa Death Dealer having regeneration, also really important here.
Absolutely.
Creature keywords are making a big difference.
Hunter going to play a Corsair Crucifix. Take a look at the top card. It's a Wingmate Rock. However, I think you can see the card in Tom's hand that's very important right now. It's Nance is going to sacrifice that Windswept Teeth. He'll lose 1 and gain 1. But the shield might be down on the regeneration.
This is extremely important for Hunter to hit some sort of source of mana here. And in fact, by getting a Plains, I guess he can still hit green mana because of the Urborg.
Yeah.
But he's putting a lot more pressure on this Corsair reveal.
Take a look at the top card. It's a Temple of Silence. That's going to come in as he hasn't played a land yet this turn, but this is bad news.
Yeah, I think Tom is ecstatic by this turn of events, even finding a land off the Corsair. He looked like he was getting rocked this game and no real answer in sight to either one of these creatures. And now End Hostilities is going to catch them all up, and he's got a bunch of dig through times to rebuild with after the fact.
I think that perhaps we get to see everyone's favorite attack. This one, at least
Yeah.
my favorite.
Good. All right, you're on 23.
Yeah. Tom going to sacrifice his Flooded Strand, dig a Plains out of his deck. And all these creatures are going to go away in just a moment. There's Battlefield Forge, there's End Hostilities. The board has been reset. Hunter's the first one to get to rebuild. Now keep in mind, he is drawing a Sandsep Citadel. You can see his hand, he has at least 1 Fleecemane Lion, though it looks like there are 2. He's able to deploy them both and pass the turn back. But he is empty-handed. He's got to hope that Ross doesn't have much.
An Elspeth, a sweeper, even a couple pieces of removal. The flip side of that is if Tom can't kill both of them, one gets to go monstrous next turn and attack for 4, and that's a 2-turn clock that's hard to answer. Now this Jeskai token deck, very good at chump blocking. There's some workarounds, but if Tom can't kill both, the door is not completely shut on Hunter yet.
Lightning Strike. We'll take care of 1. Temple. Give Tom a little bit more informed decision. And we can't forget about Treasure Cruise that is in hand for Ross. 5 cards in the graveyard now.
but it's still his whole turn to cast either one of the card drawers, and that is an opportunity for Hunter to go monstrous.
And he will do that. That will resolve. In for 4, Ross goes down to 4. Dig through time. We'll put Ross down to 3, and that number is very important against the Siege Rhino deck.
And keep in mind, there's no way to really remove it at this point, the Fleece Mane Lion. So now Tom's going to find some sort of Elspeth or generate a bunch of tokens and chump block. It's going to be some indirect answers at this point. He's not going to be able to just straight kill it.
Two cards to grip, 5 to the bottom. Dig through time, done resolving. Elspeth is the draw.
That counts.
Does it ever?
Although I think Tom is contemplating a different line here. It looks, because he does have the option of, say, play Monastery Mentor and then Jeskai Ascendancy. That way he doesn't lose to Bioblight. Then untap and play Elspeth and try to go from there with a different spread of tokens. But it looks like he's just trying to shut the door right now.
Yep, there is a Bioblight left in hand. So had he taken the other line, perhaps he gets the job done. But Nance does have the timely Bioblight, and that means we're headed to a third game here between Tom Ross and Hunter Nance. Jeskai tokens, Obs on aggro. One more, whoever wins, top 8.
Yeah, and I ultimately agree with Tom's play there because there's only really 2 draw steps in the dark for Hunter to be able to find Bioblight. And once Elspeth's in play, everything becomes a lot easier. But there is an argument for going the other way because it forces Hunter to either use the Bioblight on something else, allowing your Elspeth to be deployed, or he just attacks into your Monastery Mentor token, and then you get to untap with Monastery Mentor in play, plus an Elspeth, and you can go from there. There was a line of play there for Ross to be better against Bioblight.
Yes. A tough call nonetheless. Just that one does not work out for the boss, and Nance able to tie things up. I think that's big for Hunter's confidence right now.
Yeah, no, I mean, he mulliganed. It was looking rough there at a couple points. The end hostilities looked like a backbreaker, and to be able to do exactly lethal, he had to catch some breaks in that game, but he's on to game number 3, you know. He's been getting rocked so far the last 2 camera matchups. Caught some bad breaks against Boswell, down a game quickly against Tom, mulligan, but you know, you get to shake off the worst of it when you finally get that win.
It's a big W. And now these players will get ready for game number 3. Well, let's see who's able to get the job done here, as again, the winner of this match is going to move on to the top 8. Looks like Hunter has got a question for a judge here, so we'll see what he's asking about. And while we wait, we will come back to the booth here very quickly. Cedric Phillips, Patrick Sullivan, Open Series here in DC. It's been a heck of a weekend so far. Made an announcement on Grand Prix London. I've talked about Grand Prix Miami some as well. So a lot on our plate here for organized play in the Open Series, as well as Grand Prix for Star City Games. We're, of course, here in DC, working our way towards elimination rounds. Going to be crowning one of 3 champions here. Got a large Modern Premier IQ going on, large Legacy Premier IQ. Bannings have changed those formats. Introduction of Fate Reforged has changed our standard format. It's a good time to be playing Magic.
Yeah, it's been really fun to watch this tournament. Week 1's always great, and this time especially so. I think people have really delved, you know, head first into the new card pool. We're seeing adaptations to old decks. We're seeing new decks altogether. Things that have fallen off the radar have come back. Things like Green Devotion that Callie Anderson's playing, or Mono Red Aggro that a variety of pilots have been playing to good finishes. It's been really fun to watch. Things typically settle down over the next couple of weeks, but I still think there's going to be an opportunity for metagaming and exploration. Remember, next week in Indianapolis is Legacy.
Yep.
The weekend after that is regionals, which doesn't have the same visibility on it that an Open Series does. And then we go to Houston.
Yeah.
So it's possible that we aren't going to see major adjustments to the format until the Open in Houston. That's quite a bit of weeks to update your decks for your local tournaments, for regionals, whatever else. It's a fun time to be playing Standard.
I imagine Houston's going to be an interesting tournament. First of all, it's the first Standard tournament in a while, as you mentioned. It's going to get a lot of camera time and spotlight on it. Second of all, it's our first time in Houston.
Yeah,
So that should
Open
be
Series has
interesting.
never come to Houston. We go to Dallas a fair bit, and we actually have 2 dates in Dallas through the first 2 seasons. Both actually, I believe, the week before Invitationals. No, sorry, they're both the Opens, I believe, before the Invitationals.
Right at the back end of the season.
Right. But Houston, this is our first time.
But third, what makes that show pretty interesting to watch, and I don't know how things are going to play out, but who's going to go?
Yeah.
Houston not that far from Joe Lissette, for example, and given his absence here, he's giving up the lead. We don't know for how long or if he'll ever be able to get it back, but Houston much closer to the California area that he is from. We could see some players on the East Coast make that trip over to Houston. It's a really, really important tournament, I think, for a lot of people.
Easy place to fly to.
Yeah, it really is. Big airport down there.
Yeah.
Hunter going to take another mulligan. Tom going to do the same.
And in Hunter's position, you know, I don't know if any experience really playing these kind of high-profile matches. For me, at least, the first game win every single time has mattered so much, just for the feeling of, all right, the game doesn't change. The rules aren't any different. My first game win at my first Pro Tour, it was round 1, game 1, and it really settled me in. It's like, okay, the game's the same. We're still just drawing cards and playing Magic. All the trappings only matter as much as I let them. My first written feature match, my first camera feature match is the same feeling, you know. And Hunter caught the bad end of it, certainly against Boswell there before. Was down a game here against Tom. Mulligan game 2. Things were looking bad again. Snuck it out. And now game 3, I think you're going to see him settle in a little bit.
Both players going to take a mulligan here. Anybody's game. Ross will take a look at his 6. Doesn't look thrilled. I've seen that look before. He's going to go back. And so is Hunter. Okay. So both players going to go down to 5. Things going to get very interesting here. Who do you think this favors?
I think this is good for Hunter.
Okay.
I think his deck has fewer moving parts. I think that Tom is probably sideboarded into a fair number of expensive spells that will be challenging for him to cast on limited resources. I think he's more likely to get stranded with card drawers he can't cast when he doesn't have a critical mass of spells to facilitate Delve. And, you know, Hunter can easily get to Siege Rhino on a mulligan to 5, which is his most important card in the matchup.
Well, well, well. It all comes down to one game and 2 players on 5-card hands. Tom will take a look at his first. He queues pretty quickly. Looks like Nance will do the same. Now Tom trying to figure out how to lead off. He'll go with Mystic Monastery before passing the turn over to Nance. Nance will draw a card. He's got a Temple of Malady. Take a look at the top card. It'll stay on top. Back to Ross we go. Ross' draw step is a Soulfire Grandmaster.
2 of those in his main deck. Another card he's kind of taking out for a test drive.
Caves of Koilos. Into a Fleecemane line. We go back the boss's way. Haven't seen a lot of the Soulfire Grandmaster this weekend. Perhaps it'll play a big role here in sending Tom to the top 8.
It's hard to imagine that the game is going to shape him in such a way that he's able to get to requisite mana plus a spell, and Hunter's deck chock full of removal will be unable to answer it.
Here comes Fleecemane line. It'll come across for 3. Ross will go down to 17. Sansep Citadel will come in. Nance looks like he's getting another point of damage. Here's another copy of Fleecemane line. And the 2-mana 3/3. Very good so far.
And Hunter with Drown in Sorrow left over here, and he's setting up very nicely here with a pair of 3/3s against Tom, who's adding nothing but small stuff to the board.
Wild Slash the draw. A Temple is Ross's play. And that top card will go to the bottom. Attack with some soldier tokens here. Ross hoping to get a block out of his opponent. But Hunter will not bite. He'll just take 2 points of damage past the turn back. Nance will draw. We know he's got Drown in Sorrow in hand. You see the 2 black mana out there.
Though he has drawn Anafenza this turn, which may be good enough for him to hold off for one more turn.
Yeah.
I think this is a pretty juicy board to Drown in Sorrow away, but Anafenza does make it close. Courser's not bad here either.
He's going to give us some thought on what to play. He's going to go with Courser. Top card, Sorin. There is a windswept teeth. Trigger, gain a little bit of life. Pass the turn back. Ross will draw. In the back of your mind, if you're Hunter, you have to be thinking about end hostilities probably the entire time.
Which is one of the arguments, I think, for casting his copy of Drowned Sorrow next turn. Basically, either Drowned Sorrow or any creature induces an end hostilities out of Tom if he has it. And in the event that he casts end hostilities, I would rather have a creature left over in my hand than a Drowned Sorrow.
Nance will draw that Sorin. Top card is Llanowar Waste. That's going to come in now. Of course, you're doing a nice job of undoing the mulligans that Hunter has taken. Wingmate Rock on top of the deck.
And what I alluded to before, you know, Tom on a Mulligan 5 with a Sarkin and a Treasure Cruise, he's less likely to be able to cast these cards on Mulligans to 5s than Hunter can, who has Courser Crewfix, more mana. It's easier for him to get into his high impact plays.
Red zone. How will the boss block, if at all?
It's very hard for him to block and use the Wild Slash because Hunter can simply pass in the event that Tom blocks either of the Fleecemane Lions. It's very challenging for him to make a profitable block on the Courser Crewfix. And then, you know, Tom is forced to just cast the Wild Slash into the monstrous mana or just untap and go to his turn, neither of which are good situations to be in.
Yeah, not at all. Big block. Grandmaster will be first in the blockers there. Of course, you're going to bite the dust. Damage will be dealt. Ross will gain 2 life in the exchange, but then he'll take 6 points of damage, so should end up down to 7. And a passing of the turn. Monastery Mentor the draw.
But Hunter definitely getting paid off here for the discipline he's displayed thus far with that Drown in Sorrow. Tom still with the 2 tokens on defense, has just drawn another 2/2.
Now the boss is trying to figure out how do I get the most out of this card. There's the Mentor. Fleecemane Lion gonna go monstrous. Pass that turn back. Yeah, Hunter's gonna have to sacrifice that windswept teeth to be able to go monstrous. Thought he might have an Urborg in play, but he does not. Which is actually pretty important because he has to shuffle away a Fleecemane Lion then. Or excuse me, shuffle away a Wingmate Rock.
It's not ideal.
Yeah.
But I think it's really important for him to take this window to get the Fleecemane Lion to monstrous.
The draw is another copy of Drowned Sorrow. In they come. Some pretty quick blocks there from the boss. Just a passing of the turn.
Yeah, I think Hunter has definitely sniffed out a Wild Slash here.
I think so.
He didn't block. He's not casting anything post-combat. He's not preemptively doing anything with the Fleecemane Line. He's just saying go, knowing that it's very hard for Tom to get out of this sort of thing.
Tom is looking for Hunter to make a mistake here.
Yeah. And Tom was so cavalier, making it look like, yeah, I'm just double chump blocking, you know? It looked like that was what was going on.
Yep.
And Hunter has deduced that there's a Wild Slash or similar effect in Tom's hand and is squeezing a lot out of these Fleecemane Lions.
Sarkin and Ross's hand.
I think it says a lot for, you know, settling in and getting off the schneid a little bit. I think this is Hunter's best played game of the match so far.
I think so, yeah. A win can fix quite a few things. Here's a Treasure Cruise. And Ross is going to get to draw 3 cards, but I think these might be the last 3 cards he draws out of the tournament.
Well, if Hunter has to cast Drown in Sorrow, Tom's not facing lethal.
Not yet.
But it's really bad news.
Yeah.
I mean, the rest of his hand, it's a Sarkit that can't kill anything. It's an Ascendancy with no setup.
Monk token thinking about attacking. It's going to hang back, though. Hunter going to quickly untap and draw. And perhaps now it's time to cast Drown in Sorrow finally. And it is. All these creatures will bite the dust. Fleeceman Alliance will hang around, but they're just 2/2s. Top card going to stay on top. There's a land. There's the attack for 4. Ross going to go down to 3. He'll take a draw step. Wild Slash is what he's found, and that is going to do it for Hunter Nance. A big win, and you can see he's pumped up about it. Beats Tom Ross 2-1. Obzon Aggro will take care of Jeskai tokens. Ross has a lot of top 8s to his name in the Open Series, but it's somebody else's turn. Hunter Nance going on to the top 8 here.
And a bemused spurt there from Tom, taking it in stride. Really, a lot of credit goes to Hunter there, I think. You know, those last 2 rounds, you sort of saw the peaks and valleys of what the tournament experience can be like later on.